What are you guys' thoughts on these? Do you have a favourite of the two? Do you think that they're completely different? Or what are your sort of feelings on it?
I prefer Shazam to Aquaman.
I also prefer Shazam.
I do like Aquaman, though.
Yeah,
I do not.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Are you not entertained? Great Scott!
Here's Johnny. I'll be back.
It's not the guitar, it's a very naughty boy!
Well, good movies.
Hello and welcome to Well Good Movies, the podcast that gives you the topics worth discussing and the movies worth watching. I'm your host, David Oscar, and I am joined, as usual, by my trusty aide, Craig MacDonald. Hello, Craig.
Hello, everyone at home. Not for David calling me an aide, not partner.
I was thinking of like superhero terminology, like my loyal, what's the like Robin one? Like
Sidekick?
no, there's Ward.
A ward.
Yeah, like my loyal ward.
Yeah, you're not making this comparison any better.
You called me like an astromech droid in the last one, so I just thought like.
I could have called you an interpreter. Like, I gave you a...
Also, guys, just a quick mention at the beginning of that. Our opening includes that famous line from Monty Python, so I think it's only right that we pay tribute here to Terry Jones, who has sadly passed away. He is such a fantastic actor and comedian, and we had that in our intro, obviously, well before this happened, because it is just such an iconic line and such an iconic character. So we are very sad to hear of his loss. So we hope that condolences go out to friends and family, and you won't be forgotten. But for today's episode now, guys, we are going to be talking about The Birds of Prey is out in the coming up weeks with Harley Quinn. So we're going to be talking about all things DC, talking about our thoughts on films like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and then your newer films that come along like Aquaman and Shazam. To go through all of that today, we have got two massive DC fans and experts. He's been on the show before in our Joker episode, so also DC themed. He is the host of the Film 7 podcast. It is Jake Hart. Hello.
Hello there.
How are you,
Thanks
Jake?
for having me on, guys.
Yeah, that's no problem. Like I said, if we're doing DC, we needed to
Give me a call.
get you back in there. Yeah. What are you looking forward to more? Do you think Birds of Prey or Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. I am looking forward to Birds of Prey, but Patty Jenkins doing Wonder Woman again, give it all to me.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the trailer for that like still held up as well. So you're like, oh, here's like the test, but yeah, it trended really well and it looks really fun, to be fair. So very excited about that one. Also with us, we have got another previous guest, which is Kellan Dowsett, this time here to prove his comic book knowledge and talk all things DC, the good, the bad, the ugly. How are you, Kellan? How have you been?
I'm good. Welcome, true believers. Oh, wrong French.
How was 2019 for film for you? Obviously, you're a big film buff in terms of watching as much as you can. How did you feel it went?
Good. A mixed bag. Obviously, looking at the list of Oscar contenders, the big award-winning films from last year, I'm not impressed. I don't know your opinion on Joker myself. I'm not impressed by it. It's a good leading role for Joaquin Phoenix. It's a great acting part, but the film itself to me is pointless. There's no point to the film. The fact that it's considered the underdog, and I'm doing big finger quotation marks there, is baffling to me because it's essentially Martin Scorsese film, which is built for awards.
Yeah.
The only one that I think deserves to be there. Well, there's a couple actually, Lighthouse and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But when Oscars come around, Tarantino is always my choice because it's the wild card, so to speak. It's not traditional Oscar bait film.
Yeah, well, even with Lighthouse, I think that's just like acting nominations as well, isn't it? So it's like they have left out.
But they deserve it in that.
Yeah, they've left out some of the more sort of like risque choices, apart from maybe Parasite. And yeah, I think. Interestingly, today, obviously, we're focusing on the DCEU, so Joker won't be coming up. So, for everyone at home, if you do like Joker, or if you're sort of like similar to Kellan, in which you're sort of like not sure about it, then go listen to our Joker episode where we dedicate an entire episode to his history and his legacy, talking about that film and his other appearances. And that also, like I said, had Jake in there as well, which he won our Joker Endgame as well.
I did,
for guessing the Joker laughs, which was very fun. Well, we'll be going through all things, like I said, DC throughout this episode. We will be focusing mainly on the DCEU films we had so far. It's still kind of unclear where the Birds of Prey comes into that, but we just thought it was was a good chance, like I said, because we're getting Harley Quinn and we're getting Wonder Woman both appear in their own movies this year. It was a chance to sort of go through the past films, because there might be changes in the sort of timeline, or there might be things in alternate timelines as we've seen before. So it's a chance to bring up those other characters and actors that we've seen in other franchises.
Yeah, speaking about the title of that.
Yeah, I know. I kind of just called it Harley Quinn because I was like...
No, I'm talking about this whole universe. Now, what is the name of this universe? Because for years we've been calling it the DCEU.
Yeah.
But that's actually not the official title,
they
apparently.
called it Worlds of DC at one point at like Comic-Con or something. But I go down the line of where a lot of reviewers will go, I'm just going to call it DCEU because you haven't given us an alternative yet, and the ones that you have given us don't catch on or aren't good enough. So
I suppose DCCU, DC Cinematic Universe, is a little bit too broad.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit too much like a university. I think that's my biggest problem.
The DCCU.
Yeah.
I always just refer to it as just the DC Universe.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just me, because I think within TV, film, comics, I think it's all within the same, not universe, but multiverse.
And you need to have something that differentiates itself from the MCU as well. Yeah. But yeah, we'll be going through all of that. Like I said, obviously a big element as well is the future film. So we'll be going through some of our like hopes and what we're looking forward to in the films that have been announced. But we will start off by going through some of the films that we know or seem dead in the water in terms of films that we won't be talking about today. And in order to let you guys know that we won't be going through them, we've got a memoriam service set up by Kellan. So here is that memoriam.
These are just some of the films that we've lost over the years. Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark, Cyborg, The Batfleck, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Just some films. And not just films, TV shows as well. Swamp Thing, Constantine, Young Justice, although it's back a bit, I know. Just some of the films that DC has killed over the years. Murderers. Rest in peace, my love.
That wasn't rehearsed.
Pledging
so.
£1 a month.
That was off the cuff, that was.
Yeah.
I've literally just got a list of films.
But to be fair, you kind of want it like in the Oscars where they play the clip and stuff, where they have like the moments from the film like play, and I'm like,
I want to see a picture of Swamp Thing with a big heart around it and rest in peace. And
yeah, exactly. What are your guys' feelings? Like I said, they haven't said whether Birds of Prey is strictly in the same universe, and we don't know in the future. We've got spin-offs like Joker, but then we have got other films like Aquaman 2 and Black Adam and those kind of films that very much seem like they're going in the trajectory of staying in this timeline. But, things like Wonder Woman could change things as well, because you've got things in the past and that kind of stuff. What are your guys' thoughts on the entry to this series, which was the rebirth of DC in many ways, which was Man of Steel?
My opinion of it has changed over the years. I do like the film. When I first saw it in the cinema, I came out thinking, wow, that's amazing. But like many films I've seen in the cinema, there's a long drive home where I think about it, particularly if I've gone to see it myself, which I do occasionally. And with Man of Steel, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, some of this doesn't add up. And I've got to the opinion now where watching it as a visual spectacle is incredible. It's a beautiful film. The fight scenes are some of the best out there.
Yeah.
It's when you start to listen to the film that it starts to fall apart for me, with the whole you're fated to do this and dictated at birth, and it's just okay. I know you're trying to do something different with Superman here, but you don't need to do something like there's a comic book writer, Brian Michael Bendis, who's been essentially crucified recently for changing parts of Superman's origin, and yet the film did it without really too much backlash. But I think it's a good film. I think Henry Cavill is a great Superman. I think the issue with him is that the people writing it need to give him better things to say.
Yeah.
Because the things he's been given, he comes across as a bit wooden sometimes. And I think that's more the script than Henry Cavill, because you see him in The Witcher, say, or The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But he needs a script to back him up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you see that in the future films a lot as well. What's your feelings on it, Jake?
So Man of Steel is actually my favourite DC film of this new era.
Okay.
I personally believe it's a masterpiece of a comic book film. seeing that film in the cinema. I went to go see it 4 times in the cinema because I was that awestruck with it.
Wow.
Like the reasons Kellan maybe didn't like it, I actually really liked it. I liked the new take that Zack Snyder was going for a Superman. I liked the take that it was a more down-to-earth Superman, you could say, a bit more gritty, grounded, obviously following what Nolan had just done in the Dark Knight trilogy. I can understand why Warner Brothers wanted to take that route.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder's he's that type of director.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty much perfect for me anyway. I love the take of the origin story. That whole intro on Krypton was phenomenal. Like, you really get to spend time on Krypton. I thought the cast was great. Henry Cavill is a great Superman. I loved Russell Crowe as Jor-El.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner as John Kent. Plenty of fantastic things about this film. Hans Zimmer's score is still one of the best, for me, comic book movie scores out there. Visually stunning, great action, and for me, the first flight sequence in the movie, about halfway through the film when he finally takes his first flight, is just amazing for me. For me, that sequence perfectly captures Superman for me.
Yeah.
So I adore this movie with all my heart. Yeah.
Interesting. So I've been on the Star Wars episode again, isn't it? It's like it's like The Last Jedi. Like, it's such a polarizing film. But yeah, what was your like? It's surprising. I remember when we saw Craig, it was that same issue of the car ride home in which you thought about it. We had that when we first saw it, I remember.
Yeah, but the problem was I also came out of the film not liking it. Sorry guys. For me, I just found a lot of the film a bit overwhelming. I think when it got into the heavy action scenes, like in the city, and you're watching everything get destroyed, I think there was an element of it that lost me, because I think there was like a bit too much destruction. I think even though we can have this debate about like whether or not the character was Superman at that point, I think there's like an element of, because of the amount of destruction it was, I think a lot of it became not Superman for me. Not to mention the fact that like the relationship with John Kent was just some elements I just didn't enjoy. The fact that you get like discussions being like maybe you should have let a busload of kids drown and just stand. Like, sorry if this sounds flippant, but he also does decide, I'm gonna keep your identity by standing and letting a tornado take me. And there are just elements of like that just lost me. And I also think that, like, I respected the narrative structure of kind of going back and forth, but I think it was one of those things that I think for overall consistency of just sitting and enjoying the film, it was something that just took me out of it a bit. Like, I agree with you. The Krypton stuff is amazing, and even though I'm not a big Russell Crowe fan, I found him fine. Michael Shannon as Zod was interesting. I don't really know what to say there apart from this is a weird form of nationalism, which I'm kind of digging. But
yeah, I think like my feelings kind of like a mix of everyone's. Is similar in that like when I came out of it, I was similar in that I was like, oh, I really liked that because I loved the Krypton stuff. I thought that they did a lot of really good stuff visually. I thought that the flight scene, like you mentioned, I also thought they did a good job, and I think they do this throughout the films, which I think is a problem, which we can get onto later, which I think is bigger. But I will commend the film that they sold me on Amy Adams as Lois Lane, because going into it I was like, what? She doesn't look at all like Lois Lane. But they do. She is the character in the way she portrays her and the way she is in the script. My major problem with it is a problem that I still then get with other films, is like I just had this niggling thing about the choices they make. And I think it's similar when we get Batman v Superman, is whether you're somebody who enjoys, say, Elseworld stories. I've seen a lot of people say that before. If you enjoy Elseworld stories, you can see a lot of these films like Elseworlds stories. Whereas to me, I always felt it was important to, make these characters, at least at first, the characters you saw, know and love, whereas a lot of people could say, oh, well, we've had that in, the older Superman films. But for me, the fact that, like, Superman snaps Zod's neck at the end, I think I didn't like that choice for the character. I don't mind if they have dark elements to the character, but I just felt that was just too far. I was like, no, I just can't buy him doing that, especially in the situation it was in which it was just a bunch of people on the side. I was just like, you could have easily just chucked them to the side, gone over, moved them, like
you could have just jumped.
Yeah. So that bugged me. And also, like I said, with Craig, is like the destruction part of it, I did feel it was a bit much. I know what Zack Snyder was trying to do. I saw seen interviews in which he's saying he wanted to make it this Titanic battle of gods, but I just don't think that is the film to do that. Don't make it your first entry. That is more save that for later kind of thing. But again, I love some of the visual stuff. I think the Zod is great, and I think the character who's with him, the female
Feora.
yeah, she's amazing.
Fantastic, yeah.
I don't think that actress really been in much else since, but she's really good. So there was elements of it that I really liked, but yeah, it was just kind of a mixed bag, and some things
I will
that sort of
say
bugged me.
one last thing about Man of Steel for me is that General Zod, Michael Shannon, he's my favorite thing about that film.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still think he's been their best villain. I think he has had the best motivation for actually doing what he's doing, because with all the others, and we'll get to those in a minute, they all are sort of mustache twirling villains. While he had a real cause for doing what he was doing. He truly wanted to just bring his people back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't really... It was horrible the way he was going about it, but he didn't really have that intent of being a bad guy.
And you got the passion of somebody like Michael Shannon. That's why I always loved is I think you had it in the trailers, wasn't it, where he was like proper screaming and everything like that. And that's what you need like a character like that for. You have it in a lot of other failed comic book properties in which they're just like, I want to see the return of my world, and I'm just going to like sell you on that idea by being really so like placid and calm, and you're like, no, like
you feel it in him.
You want to like get those feelings, and like I said, I think that that does mean that he is like one of the best villains that they've had. So yeah, I thought it was really strong, and surprised that they haven't really sort of managed to mimic that since. I'm interested then to your feelings on Batman v Superman based on what you loved about that film actually though. So
so Batman v Superman I have a strange relationship with. Now, when I first saw that film in the cinemas, bearing in mind, this was the film, I don't think there's been any film I've been most excited for in my entire life. You know, reading Batman and Superman my whole life, they're my two favorite comic book characters. To see them on the big screen together for the first time, this is huge for me. And after seeing that the first time, the first thing I sort of said was, that was something. That was something. But for me, this movie, after seeing the Ultimate Cut, which was released on Blu-ray and DVD, where the editing is different, it's half an hour longer, it fleshes out the story way more. Watching that, I keep on watching that, and every time I watch it, this movie has become like a fine wine for me. It has aged really well for me. And I think it's one of the films I've watched the most out of all of them. For me, it's very rewatchable. I liked where Snyder was taking the universe. I get it. I totally get it. It's not for everyone. Totally understandable. But I liked where he was doing. I liked they were sort of using Superman as this Jesus sort of character, and he was, you know, it is a mixture of sort of Jesus and Moses, that sort of story of like the chosen one sent to Earth and all that sort of stuff. And Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman. I absolutely loved him as Batman. In that performance in BVS, he is to date my favorite on-screen Batman, like live action, in that single performance, because for me, he really captured the essence of my favorite Batman, which is the Frank Miller Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. Down to, you know, his performance, the suits, the body language, everything. It was the Batman I've been wanting for. And I really liked the themes in that movie, that Snyder was really challenging what it meant to be a superhero. And I totally get it. It's not going to be for everyone, especially when you use that sort of theme with these two heroes, the two sort of pillars of superheroes. But I do have some big issues with the film still. Jesse Eisenberg, while I... look, I actually...
mustache twirling villains.
I really like his performance, like on purely acting itself. But
it's not Lex Luthor.
But it's yes, exactly. It is not the character of Lex Luthor.
He'd be a great Riddler, I think.
That's right. He was very Jokery, Riddlery for me. And I just was like, I just can't get behind you. And one thing, like, I'm all for taking things in new directions, but I also still think you should keep the core components of the characters. And one thing that really annoyed me, and I'm sure it will annoy you and plenty of other Batman fans, was Batman killing. And not even very subtle about it, straight up murdering people.
Gunning down an entire alley's worth of thugs and then throwing a grenade at one of them, shooting them and exploding, all sorts of stuff.
The problem is as well, given the fact that his central conflict with Superman is that he's killing people without any cause for the repercussions, and Superman's issue with Batman is you are killing people without any cause for repercussion. Like, there's no ideology class apart from I want to kill people. You can't kill people. Who the hell do you think you are?
That was the main issue for me, was that I totally see Bruce Wayne's point of view of seeing this for the first time and being like, this guy has to be we have to control him. But I really thought this film was going to be a battle of ideologies, and what it turned out to be was just Lex behind the strings pulling it all.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's something that film and other ones suffer from, is just try and put too many plot elements into it. And I think, admittedly, I've not seen the director's cut or ultimate cut. But
I refuse to.
Yeah, I think it's just because, like, to me, probably from you saying about it, I'm like, I do need to watch it, but I probably would have to watch the original again to understand the problems, to then maybe see the problems that cut then reverses, possibly, because then it's been so long since I watched BVS. But yeah, I was the same at the beginning. I thought that they sold that really well, but it was just the rest of the film for me just went into overdrive. It was like I was watching, my reaction, wasn't it, when I came out the cinema, I was like, I felt like I just watched a film on fast forward. I was just like, what is going on? Like, and I think, yeah, director's cut could help that, because I just wanted them to slow down, take the time with the story, but I just felt that there was just one thing after another.
Yeah, I think with the director's cut, this film is an example which we'll see in plenty of other DC films. A bit of studio interference.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Zack initially wanted to release his 3-hour cut, and they were like, "Nah, you got to bring it down to 2.5 hours."
Warner Brothers is just notorious for this, and a lot of people have said that with these DC films. I do love the idea of it of Batman v Superman as a fine wine. I'm just imagining, like, we have the movie vault, but I'm just imagining some, like, like distillery somewhere where they're just like keeping this bottle,
or the
like,
film vineyard.
Yeah, and like, just did you ever see that advert where it was what's his name? John Malkovich was like, we've made a film, and it was with what's the guy who did Sin City and
Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah, like, it was Robert Rodriguez and John Malkovich made like a film, and it was like they were also promoting a type of whiskey at the same time, and like, oh, we've made this film that we're going to put in a vault for 100 years, and then we'll like open it up in 100 years, because good whiskey only, like, tastes great after it's been for 100 years. So I don't know if there's actually a film out there, but I'm imagining BVS being like that, like people coming across in 100
years. It's a whiskey-soaked DVD.
Yeah, they're like, this is really good. But yeah,
you're like, if only we had a way of playing this.
Yeah. What was your feelings on it, Kellan?
Right.
Take your time.
It's a bit like a fine wine for me, but I'm teetotal, so I don't drink.
But you spat it out.
Yeah. I saw the trailers, and I thought, wow, I'm liking this. I'm liking the big, tough, mechanoid bat suit. I'm interested to see how they handle the fight. It's kryptonite gas. Oh, God. You could have had something else, but no, you resorted to kryptonite. I have seen the film 3 times. I've seen the original cut twice, and the ultimate edition.
Okay.
I have not seen it again since, and I don't particularly want to see it again, which is bad, because these are characters I've grown up reading. I should want to see them again. I think for me the film's paced a little awkward. It's 2 hours of just who shot the gun, the mystery thing, and it's just like, it's Lex. For God's sake, it's Lex.
Yeah.
He introduces the pair of you at some point. He's just standing there going, just staring at both of them. Oh, you've got a strong grip.
Yeah.
And then the film stops for about 5 minutes to go, look, there's a guy who runs really fast. There's a guy underwater.
Yeah.
There's a head with a beating heart. It's just
the little logos that Lex designed as well for them.
Marvel. The reason it worked for Marvel is because you spent a film or two introducing the character, introducing what they are, what they're about, what their abilities are, their weaknesses are, their supporting cast. Justice League went, oh my God, we're behind. We need to do this now, and suffered for it, because you see someone who doesn't look like the Flash briefly disappears from CCTV.
Yeah.
You see Cyborg. Again, I wouldn't have picked Cyborg.
No.
They had a choice between Cyborg and Green Lantern, both CGI heavies, and they went with the one that no one really knows.
Yeah. My favourite of those, like, archive footage moments was Aquaman, because it literally did look like they just woke Jason Momoa from like a nap. He's like, what's going on here? What's going on?
It looks like, you remember in Jaws where that dummy comes through the hole in the ship? It's like a modern day version of that. Oh, good morning.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah, ultimately, the introduction of the Justice League had no impact on the story that they were telling in that film. So I was sort of like, why have you done this?
Yeah.
Because you could easily take that whole sequence out the film and the film doesn't change.
Yeah.
I also find it hilarious that one single musical choice they did throughout the film made me hate Wonder Woman before even seeing her film, which is that stupid guitar riff.
That's awesome.
I hated it.
Do you hate it?
Yeah, like we watched it and we just genuinely got annoyed every time she came up. It's like
See, I liked it as a separate piece of music when I listened to it, but I just find in the film it just completely like lost me.
That's the thing.
I
Right?
loved it. I'm sorry, but I love that.
The thing is, when
yeah.
it's actually used in Wonder Woman, they use it a lot better, and they like remix it a bit to the point that like I was counting throughout the film how many times it comes up, but it never bothered me then. It was just how it was used in Justice League, because it was literally just like, notice her, she will be important.
Yeah, Batman v Superman. You mean?
Yeah, that's what
you said. Justice League.
We'll open that can of worms short.
Yeah, but
it might as well have been a Justice League film. The amount of times they were trying to
I did
push
think
people.
they introduced Wonder Woman well in that movie.
Yeah,
I just didn't think you needed the rest of the members.
No, yeah, she was the best introduction in that film, and again, I was sold on the character, but again, it was just so much going on in there. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and like you said, you got things like Martha, which is still talked about today as well. When you were mentioning about like the bizarre things as well, what was the other thing that popped into my mind? The bit that sort of lost me when I watched it was like the.
Are you talking? Let me guess. Is it the nightmare sequence where he's in the desert?
No,
I was just thinking.
I was something that did bother me was the way that they shoot the like rivalry when like he literally is in the Batmobile and then like rolls up and Superman's there and they have that like death stare thing and I'm like, really, come on.
I love that moment.
I think it's so goofy, but
It's in my head just now. I just think of Batman just going, "Hey girl," just driving past Superman, like in GTA when you pick up a prostitute.
controversial
very
film,
controversial, yeah.
controversial film. See if it does, go like a fine wine.
I don't think it will. I think that's just me.
That is a beautiful optimist term. It's like maybe people like it later down the line, and people like.
Thing is, like the thing with that film, as we've all been saying, it is very convoluted.
Yeah,
that film.
exactly,
There's a lot going on in that film. Like this is not an excuse. I think multiple viewings does help the film because you're starting to piece things together. But at the same time, I get it that you should make it understandable on your first go.
Yeah.
So I get it.
And it's the whole thing of like they've had it with Star Wars. Like you shouldn't need a book or comic to tell you these things and that kind of thing as well. So I would like to say that, like, usually you could be like, well, it got better, like, or like, we won't have, like, the next one won't be, but then the next one was Suicide Squad.
Ooh.
So, like, you can just go on to this, like, one controversial to another.
Who wants to start on this one?
Garbage. Go on, Craig. Starts off on Suicide
Craig
Squad.
loves it.
So remember what I said earlier about character introductions? Well, this film opts for. We're just going to give you biographies quite at the beginning. We're just going to show you like an info
The whole
card.
list down, yeah.
Yeah. And so,
But not for all of them, though.
No, not for all of them. Just for the significant ones, and then a little bit on like later ones, and then they go. Right, I think we've had enough of that. We're now gonna get onto the story, which is paper thin and also completely convoluted. Because when you think about it, Amanda Waller brings these people together because she wants to protect them from a threat. The threat they end up protecting the world from is one of their own members, aka a threat that wouldn't have been there had it not been for Amanda Waller. Like, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and she's there like, I told you we needed these guys. Like, no, screw off, this is your fault. Just suffer for it. And just
on the note of like the introductions, biographies is also like they don't do it for every member. It's just like, oh, why didn't they do it for Slipknot? Okay, he's dead. Like
his defining characteristic is he likes ropes and punching women.
Yeah, and like
he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. It just came out of a car.
See, the thing is, when you put it like that, there's definitely like a very sexual undertone to that. But I don't think that's what it's like.
But
anyway,
because he's in all the sort of the act. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and because he left such an amazing impression. He's in all the sort of group shots, and he's like signing shirts and stuff. And he turns up, a very big, strong Native American looking guy, and he's like, "What do you do? I like knots."
Yeah.
He does one thing and tries to escape, and then his head blows up, and then they just leave his body strewn in the street for, I assume, someone else the next day to clean up.
Well, we're saying about the Birds of Prey history, like you guys, obviously they change up the team quite a bit from the original lineup and stuff as well. So, what were your guys' thoughts on that? Or like,
the lineup of Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, it made sense to, at the time, current Suicide Squad in the comics. It was within the New 52 that they brought in Harley Quinn to the Suicide Squad. That made it very popular, and they were like... then they did an animated film called Assault on Arkham.
I love that film.
It's a great... Which I think that's what the Suicide Squad film should have been like.
Yeah.
And so they thought, let's make a movie. And Deadshot is primarily always in the Suicide Squad, the same as Captain Boomerang.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'm fine with them just bringing in new characters, killing them, and in the next movie we got a whole new cast.
Yeah.
That is the whole sort of point of the Suicide Squad. At the moment, the current lineup is Captain Cold, a Flash villain. That's about it. Because all the others have died. The very original lineup, because it is a DC owned property, the very earliest lineup is it's a group of soldiers. The Suicide Squad is original Rick Flag was just the Howling Commandos for Marvel. It was just a group of soldiers.
Wasn't Killer Croc like a changeover for the shark? What's his
King
name?
Shark.
King Shark. Yeah. So like, was that was?
Yes, you need to have one animal-based thing on the team.
I do think,
but didn't the movie change? Was that the movie that changed that, and then he's been in the comics since?
Assault on Arkham had Killer Croc.
Right.
He's also on Suicide Squad in the Injustice storyline, or at least he has the bomb in his neck.
I do believe we are getting King Shark in the James Gunn.
Yeah, I think
Suicide Squad.
It's possible that's John Cena.
Yes, I've heard
big
it could be
man.
Yeah.
If you want a great joke about the Suicide Squad film, then it's the Lego Batman film where at the beginning, Killer Croc is like, I did something. That's
because
great.
he made so much of an impact. Oh, this is my domain. And then immediately gets choked out by 3 goons underwater. There's that weird waddle as well into the water.
There's loads of problems with that. And I enjoyed Enchantress as a character, and I thought it was really cool. I even liked the way that Cara Delevingne played her. I thought it was quite cool with the visual effects, with the hand thing when she awoke her. And I even thought the weird dancing thing to an effect in a better film might have worked somewhat. It was weird, but I thought it was okay, that's your choice, go for it. It was kind of goofy and funny, but I thought it could have worked had they had the time to explore why she was such a good villain, etc. But
it's weird because they get the Enchantress pretty much spot on as an adaptation.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything with her.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
I think that this whole movie falls with that character. I think.
Yeah.
To build her up, I think the whole third act is atrocious.
Yeah.
I think it's just your typical. There's a floating thing in the sky. We have to destroy it, sort of thing.
So have you seen Independence Day?
Yeah, it's, and I didn't like Cara Delevingne at all.
Okay,
in that movie. Did not. I don't really care for her as an actress in general.
Yeah.
And then just for me, the editing of the movie was just, what am I watching?
Yeah.
And it honestly felt like I was watching a music video.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising considering that this film was completely recut.
Yeah.
By a trailer park company.
Yeah, exactly.
After the success of the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, it Warner Brothers sort of turned around and go, let's make this film.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I always like I think Grace Randolph on YouTube's description of it, of Snapchat the movie, because it is literally just boom, 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 all these little say graphics and stuff like that. I think the biggest issue I had as well with it was the Joker Harley stuff. Which, like I said, you guys probably have similar feelings on, so let's let you get into it. Apart from the performance, but even just the way the story goes, I just don't like that whole he's saving his girlfriend thing. And me and Craig have
I think it's morally reprehensible that the first time that the Joker Harley relationship is brought to a vast amount of people, it is portrayed in a way in which the Joker is genuinely loving of Harley Quinn. I think that is morally reprehensible, and I hate it so much.
You do get a slight hint that it's not that when he leaves her in the car in the water, but he spends the rest of the film trying to get her back, and then
which doesn't make any sense.
If you know the history, it's he's going through all this just for his punching bag.
Yeah, and the director, I think, even said, or the writer said, he sees now that it would have made sense for the Joker to be the bigger villain in the film. But when you're watching it, it sets it up so much, and you're like, when he goes to the place where they put the implants in, you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then you see that he's just saving Harley, and you're like, oh. So that makes it even worse for that moment, that you think, oh, he's just saving his girlfriend, which is not only wrong to the character, but also just makes Joker just lose so many points in the fact that he hasn't been behind anything.
Also just weakens one of the dynamics I love about the Suicide Squad is that because of the situation they're in, they become a team, right? When that's the feeling you never get in the film itself. Like they have like the one bar bonding session, and they
all reluctantly follow Rick Flag,
and they all just like, all right, let's go save the world. Also, I think that's massively weakened when Harley Quinn literally has in the back of her head is like, oh yeah, my pudding is gonna come
save me,
come and save me. Oh, he actually has, as opposed to in other iterations where it's like, oh no, he like I'm done with him now. Like, get me away from. And
the problem as well, which is like going on from what you said earlier about how the problem comes about from Amanda Waller, but it's also where you get other films and they have this in the MCU, like, oh well, why wouldn't that person turn up, or why wouldn't this happen, and stuff like that. But I think there is a level of, well, obviously it's that character's film, so you're not going to have them turn up. But there is an element of believability that in, say, Winter Soldier, you know, other Avengers wouldn't have turned up because of what was happening, because it's in Washington or whatever. But in this film, I find it very hard to believe nobody would have turned up in the world to like this massive disaster going on.
What do you mean?
Batman in the movie?
Batman gets a hot tip that Deadshot's going to be in an alley at a certain time on that day.
Yeah.
And then they have a sort of fight.
But to me, isn't that the point of the Suicide Squad, to take on the missions that, like, you know, nobody else will, like that Assault on Arkham, like going into a prison or something? Why did they have to save the world kind of thing? It's like, that's not their point.
It's not their thing, no.
Their remit is normally missions that are suicide missions. That they don't, if they succeed, they're going to die on the next one.
Yeah.
My problem with that is that Deadshot's been the leader for a long time.
Yeah.
And even when he's not the leader, it's not because he's dead, it's just because he's out of action for a bit.
Yeah.
Any film where we have Will Smith saying, "Oh, we're some sort of Suicide Squad," oh my,
Thing is,
we get it. I know
that was the biggest fear I had going into this movie, was Will Smith.
Yeah,
because like a lot of people, I was sort of scared. I think, is this just going to be the Will Smith show?
I know, yeah.
But in all honesty, he played the character well. He didn't steal the show like most Will Smith films would.
Yeah.
And I would say the one redeeming quality I have about this film is that I think overall the cast is well done.
Yeah.
And I think the chemistry between the cast is really good.
Yeah.
And especially Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Say what you will about how her character's written, but she is cold.
Yeah.
Like
it is a great performance, definitely. It's just
the writing,
the script. Yeah, I enjoyed like El Diablo as well. I thought that he was quite well done. You know, I think the sequence where he puts like the woman dancing with flames, I thought that was quite cool. We'll go on to some like happier film now. So we go to Wonder Woman, which is like a sort of a beacon of light in this situation in which we're talking about.
Insert Gordon Ramsay meme where he goes at last, finally some good films.
Kellan,
what's your feelings on Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman's great. It's fantastic. It's a breath of fresh air. It's colourful.
Yeah.
Despite the fact it's set in World War One, her costume is colourful, which is utterly bewildering to me, considering we've just had a Superman where his costume is sort of watered down in the colours. It's not the bright blue, the bright red. There is a bit of yellow in there. And it's nice to have, because like she's naive, but she's also like, I want to help the world.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of get that for Superman through his actions, but not through what he says. And Batman just basically just wants to brutalize criminals from what you get from his actions. But Wonder Woman is a breath of fresh air. I'm not a Chris Pine fan. I despise Chris Pine, in fact. But I think he's good in this film. He's enjoyable. He's not the charisma vacuum I normally think him to be. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. Gal Gadot, however you say it, has really good acting chops, considering she's not from an acting background.
Yeah.
The action scenes are good. They're creative with the whip. Sorry, the lasso. I think they do a better job of putting the team together quickly than Justice League does.
Yeah.
And you get literally, he's chief, he's Scottish, he's short.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
But you don't feel like the film is about, like, it doesn't dominate them. It's just an element of the story, which I think is good as well.
Yeah, they are supporting. They've got big personalities, but they are still a supporting cast.
Yeah.
One of the weak points, I think, is the villain.
Yeah.
In that you spend the whole thing thinking Ares, the god of war, this big, strong, like he's supposed to be like 7'4", 7'5" in the comics, who thrives because most powerful of conflict. Yeah. And here he is just going, you might want to use this formula for the poison. Yeah. And then it's like he's getting off on it. He goes, yeah. And then he's just a skinny dude.
Yeah.
Who can fly.
David Lewis. Yeah.
Like, I did love in that how you just went the most sudden change. Like, I'm not a Chris Pine fan. Actually, I despise the man.
I just remembered halfway through I don't like him.
It was just like, wow, what a change there. But Yeah. What's your guys' thoughts on it, Jake?
Yeah, I love Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I think most people love Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I think it's the one film on DC that everybody can go, yeah, this one's good.
Yeah.
I mean, Patty Jenkins directs the hell of that movie.
Yeah.
What a great job she did.
Yeah.
And she's always wanted to do Wonder Woman. You can sort of see it in her. Gal Gadot is perfect as this character. I think she really represents the kindness and empathy and naivety as she's shown in the movie. But, you know, the themes in this movie, for me, are really, really powerful. Chris Pine is great in it. I thought he brought the...
I love Chris Pine.
I'm so with Chris Pine. He's not like one of my favorite actors, but I thought he brought the comedic beats in at the right times for this movie.
He works in the film because Gal Gadot is so unknowing to the world, and he does that kind of element.
It's very much fish out of water type of story, which I really liked. And the best moment of the movie for me, very similar to how I feel about Superman's first flight, Man of Steel, is of course the No Man's Land sequence.
That is absolutely amazing,
where she just comes out and blasts those bullets and then goes into the town. That whole action sequence is perfect for me. It is just fantastic. But like yourself, where this film lets me down is the third act and the villain. This is why Man of Steel for me just pips Wonder Woman, because it had the villain for me just had a bit more depth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So very much the same as you. I was disappointed with what they did with Ares.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a sort of difficult because Wonder Woman doesn't have a lot of villains that the broad population are going to know.
No.
Yeah,
and as a comic book fan, there's not a lot in there that I would think that's a good. Like they're doing Cheetah and Gilbert Godfrey in the next one.
Maxwell Lord.
Maxwell Lord, sorry. I get the two confused. Maxwell Lord is a Justice League villain because you kind of have to, because the only other thing I can think of is Giganta, who's just a big woman.
Yeah.
And that's, apart from maybe going for Hades.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I can think of.
One of the animated films lately, was it Swan or something? And I'm like, what? And it's like
the new Bloodlines one.
Bloodlines,
I haven't seen that.
I'm pretty sure when you see her like flying around, she's there with claws and like steel wings. I'm like, that doesn't say swan to me. But yeah, it seemed a strange choice.
Don't know, have you ever been chased by a swan? I've seen swans by me.
Here is why I absolutely hate the Ares stuff, because I think the way they were building up to it at first would have been actually perfect and even more refreshing, to the point that I would consider Wonder Woman one of my favourite superhero films of all time. Throughout the film, they make it incredibly thematically important, the idea that she believes that Ares, the god of war, is physically behind everything, every evil action is going on in the world. And she's constantly being told, like, no, it's the idea of, like, man, they have these evil ways, and just, like, the ways in which they go about it. They're basically doing it all themselves. And to the point when you get to the end of the film where she believes she is killed, like the embodiment of Ares, but then like nothing happens, the war is still ongoing. I thought it would have been an incredibly like poignant moment to continue with that sort of theme. And she has to come to the realization that humanity like has these problems and has to address it. To then find out that Ares is just there, and then she's able to have them punch up with him, I think it's incredibly stupid. It's just like,
it's also a little contradictory towards herself, because it's like now she's at the end of the film she vanquishes the source of evil. That doesn't explain World War II happening, then does it?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Craig said, like, I have this rank coming, but I always forget, like, your point on that. But every time you say it, I'm like, yeah, good point. Oh my god, like, I much would have preferred that. So it's kudos to that.
Because like that's the thing as well. Because I think it would have been great to have a superhero film where there isn't necessarily a villain, but just the concept of a larger villain ongoing. Hell, even if you just want to have Ares there and he's only the skinny guy, and you need to turn him to like the CGI monstrosity giant he does in the end, I think it would also be fine. If it's a case of, I'm not a warrior, I'm just the influencer. But instead it's like, no, they try and have it both ways, and I just think that becomes a mess. That's the only thing that bothers me about Wonder Woman. Everything else I think is great. All the positives I agree with.
I'm ready for some Justice League.
Let's go for some JO.
Let's keep it consistent.
Okay, this movie is a Frankenstein of a movie. Like, it's not Zack Snyder's movie. It's not Joss Whedon's movie. Hell, I don't even think it's Warner Brothers' movie. It just seems like there's so much interference with this movie, and everybody's got a different take and vision on it, that it's just a complete mess. It just falls apart at every single spot in the movie. The only thing I would say that's great about this movie is I do like, again, the cast. I think the chemistry between all the characters works really well, when they're actually battling, and throwing jokes around and stuff. I do like some of it. Some of it was a bit cringy, but some of it was also really good. But it's just, I feel really sorry for Zack Snyder, because I think he was given, like, okay, he tried to execute his vision. His vision didn't work for everyone. That's fair enough. That's more of a matter of taste. But the way this was all handled, firing him, and then using the death of his daughter as a cover-up, instead of saying we fired him, but he's actually departing. It was really poorly handled, I think. All the reshoots that happened, the movie should have been delayed. But Warner Brothers executives were like, no, this movie has to come out by the end of the year so we can get our annual bonuses. And this movie was made for all the wrong reasons. I think this movie was purely a cash grab. It was Warner Brothers saying, look what Marvel's doing, we need to get to that point and fast. And when you do that, this is the reason.
I think like the biggest, like I said, I'll go on to what I was going to say later about why I think they could make this film work on its own, but again, it would be a completely different movie. But I think that aspect of it, when you watch it, I was watching it again the other day, it's just like the Joss Whedon thing is the complete wrong move to do. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, thank God. It's like, no, this is like the rival company hiring the guy who did your rival project. That just doesn't make any sense at all.
It's not just that, it's a rival, well, not rival, but a completely different type of filmmaker to the one you already had. Do you know what I mean?
It's just bizarre. And so and that's where, like you said, it makes it a Frankenstein of a movie. Kellan, what's your thoughts?
I think Justice League is a hot mess. It's a watchable hot mess. There is that, I have the same thing with The Dark Knight Rises, is that almost an audible clunk where the colour palette changes from blues and greys to orange. And you see that between one trailer and another. The cast, mixed bag for me. I don't think Ezra Miller is a good suit as Flash, as Barry Allen. As Wally West, I said this before, I think he's a better fit as a more light-hearted and more quirky. But Barry Allen as this is as a bit more tragic, where his mum's dead and his father's in prison for her murder. You wouldn't be so quirky in that situation where you still want to get your father out of prison. I think, is it Ray Fisher?
Yes.
The guy who plays Cyborg? He's trying his hardest, love him, but he's playing a character that no one cares about. I don't care about Cyborg. I don't want to see him in his own film.
I've always felt the Cyborg in the Justice League to me just doesn't make any sense, and I don't know why they go. Is everyone on the same page with that? Do you agree?
I think for me, he's always been a Titans character. That's where he should say.
But they've done it, because he's a part of the New 52, and they do it in all the animated films, and I'm always like, so I can't even throw, stick at the film just for doing it, because they do it everywhere, and I'm like, I don't get this.
I don't mind it so much in Justice League, but to give him his own film, like I'm going to turn to my other comic book counterpart here and say, do you know any Cyborg villains?
No, because he hasn't got any.
I can think of one, and it's a cop-out. It's the Earth 3 version of Cyborg, Grid. And that's just Cyborg,
that's a bit of
evil
anti-
Cyborg. That's the only one I can think
the
of.
Anti-Cyborg.
Other than go into the Titans, which they sort of tried to do with Deathstroke at the end of Justice League, but I think they've sort of dropped that off now, because he was supposed to be the original Batman villain for the film. They've sort of dropped that now, and Titans have done it in this TV series. If you're going to stop making a film halfway through and then have a new director come in, don't pick someone who's like a completely different style. If you're going to do that, start again. Have Joss Whedon do the whole thing, or wait until Zack Snyder's ready, or have someone Zack Snyder have Robert Rodriguez in. They trust each other. And I got to be honest, I would quite like to see a Robert Rodriguez final battle in Justice League. Speaking of the final battle, again, the villain. I understand you can't jump straight to the big bad, but you could have done something better than Steppenwolf and this weird sort of chin. I understand. You want a new god. You want something from Apocalypse.
It's like Thanos has that recognizable chin. We needed recognizable chin too.
He just looked like a video game character to me.
He
really did. Like the CGI was awful.
It's weird because the new gods in the comics are supposed to be like Superman, except without the yellow sun. To have Superman suddenly show up and then that first punch where he's just like, I'm going to move slowly round his fist. It's like these are supposed to be beings that can hurt him. Like Orion, who is the son of Darkseid, has given Superman bloody nose, broken bones. He's arguably stronger than Superman, and he's won fights. And this is supposed to be his uncle, so older, more experienced, more stronger. And is getting beaten up by Aquaman.
Yeah.
Who just sticks a fork in his arm.
The biggest problem, I think, at the end of that film as well is that you don't actually get like a unified fight. The thing that Avengers does so well is that they have them go off and fight separately, but then they also unite to fight the villain, and you have that great, like there's that one shot they do where they're sort of working together. You have the revolve shot, but
panning shot through the city.
Yeah, there's very few times in which you actually see the Justice League fighting together, but also playing off their own strengths.
It's never playing off a group shot. There's the bit where the Flash pushes the sword.
Yeah, that's great.
And the final fight is Aquaman and Wonder Woman basically taking turns to get punched by the villain. Superman coming in late. Flash just zipping round, and Batman on a ledge shooting things,
just getting thrown around.
Which again is weird because one, he's holding a gun, and two, he's shown earlier on he can't fight one parademon. It's a struggle. And yet he has the highest kill count of all of them, I think, at the end of it, because he's essentially doing a Call of Duty strategy. I'm going to camp in the corner and just shoot them as they spawn.
They did a good job of at least trying to maybe rectify the BVS or shooting stuff where he still uses grappling hook a bit more and he swings in and kicks them and stuff. But yeah, they still then go, I still need a gun. It's like, right, okay. Well, like I said, I'm pretty sure there's other video games and comics in which he still held his own without a gun, but
Yeah, it's just an utterly ridiculous circumstance. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while. I think at the time I saw it, I found it better than a lot of the films I already mentioned having problems with, because at least I was able to get through elements of it being I can understand this. This is a mess, but as Kellan said, I found it more watchable than a lot of the other films. I just think at times as well, because of the changing color palette, it's often a very ugly film, and it's just for something I think should be, a very grand cinematic experience. The idea you're having a lot of these legendary heroes coming together. You expect something quite glorious in terms of the cinematography. When they have a lot of their end battle in this really orangey environment, which is clearly meant to be dark.
Yeah.
And it just isn't. It just looks hideous.
And that's
where do we want our final fight? Do we want it in New York in the bright sun? No, we want it in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
In mid-afternoon.
And focus around a family that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
Dostoevsky.
The running of that flaming pickup truck. Although I can't decide what's more ugly, the general environment of the last battle or the CGI job on Henry Cavill's lip.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh my god.
But the fact that the thing that made me laugh when I was rewatching that is the Cyborg has this do you think you can find where he is from the boxes because you're connected to them? If I go deep enough, if you go deep enough, we'll rescue. He's I'll do it. And then he gets the grid thing, and they're we think we know where he is. He's in Russia. I'm wouldn't the clue be the massive news story about the massive storm and changing atmosphere of an entire continent be a clue as to where they are?
He's a crux in the story, and yet doesn't work at the same time because it's he has that bit where I'm gonna use the box. It's use the internet, mate.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit where he
needs to learn from Ultron in
it might take over your systems, and he's I'm worried about that. And then there's the bit where he sort of shoots at Superman. You think, oh no, he's taken over, and it's no, it's just my self-defense protocols. It's for what? He hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, I think
I still have such an issue with the fact that the first conversation that Superman and Cyborg have after the entire resurrection fight thing is the rolling around on the floor being I
can feel my toes.
I take it back. I want to die. I can't take this.
I can feel my toes.
Yeah, and I'm just laughing ha ha ha. You are not friends. Why are you having such a friendly exchange with each other?
I think
stop lying to yourselves.
What you brought up with the visual thing, I think as well, is an example as to where the film does really work. I think is maybe where you get more of the Snyder stuff. Is when Wonder Woman goes to meet Cyborg and they got the really nice dramatic darks of the street they're in. You have at the beginning when Batman's trying to sort of find the parademon. They have quite a nice look at Gotham City,
it's
which
both
is quite
Gotham. That's why.
It's neon
it's a colour
and
palette
dark.
that suits it. It's dark. It's gritty. It's raining.
Yeah. And they have that quite a lot throughout the film. But like I said, then it's then they have awful moments which then don't do it well. And I think, to me, my biggest issue with the film, and where I think the start of it is fine, and I think even the end of it is somewhat passable. But I think the biggest problem I have with it is the whole, and this is partly because of what Snyder set up, and a part of BVS I really didn't like was the death of Superman thing. I'm like, if you're going to tell the Justice League film, why are you also trying to shoehorn in the death of Superman? And like, because that means the entire middle of that film there needs to be like resurrecting Superman, having Lois come back together with Superman, having like his mum be involved, and like when you see like they recently did the Death of Superman animated film, you're like, yes, this story has time to like work on its own, not be like a side thing to like another storyline. And it also takes away from the angle of like uniting the team, because again, I just can't buy that whole idea of like let's unite the Justice League without Superman being there for like 3/4 of the story. It's just like, it just doesn't seem right to me.
It's a Warner Brothers marketing team that have gone, oh, you see this BuzzFeed article when the most recognizable logo is Superman, we need to put him in the film now.
Yeah.
And how quickly they dropped the Unite the Seven bit when it's like it's like Unite the Seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Guys?
Yeah.
Have you hired a toddler? Can't count.
But that's why, in my mind, again, it just depends on like what you grew up with. But I think that's why they could have made a Justice League film work on its own, because to me, I watched the Justice League cartoon with no knowledge of barely any of those characters apart from Batman, really, and maybe Superman.
True. The opening episode of the animated series just throws them together.
Yeah, and like they could have done that in a film, and that's why I would have loved to have seen Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern, maybe Hawkgirl. Yeah, they could have like left her out of it. She's not essential to the league. They just cut down the cartoon.
How dare you, David?
No, but they could bring her in later. I'm just saying, if you wanted to keep it a more contained cast. But I still think
they'll still swap her out for Cyborg.
Yeah. Is there a female cyborg? No.
Cyborg, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted my Justice League to be, is the proper Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, and because then that brings in the element of seeing these different superpowers working together, seeing very visually different things happening, not just that guy's punching him, that woman's also punching him, that guy's punching him but punching him at super speed. It's just it doesn't work.
I mean, I did love the Flash like slow-mo stuff. That
was cool.
I don't know, I thought it was fine, and like I thought it at least made Superman intimidating when like he's running around and he actually keeps up with him.
It's interesting, and they do the lightning thing to make it different, but again, I felt that we had just seen it so much with other speedster characters. I wanted to see, again, in the cartoons, he's just zooming around everywhere. I don't want to see, because every time you do see him, he is slowed down. There's very little times you actually see him speeding around and everyone else is normal.
I get that, but if I have to look for positives from the film...
I would have preferred, because Marvel's version of Quicksilver I quite like, where it's just a silhouette. It's like almost like his molecules are pulling away from him, so you see an after image of him, and he's like, it looks like liquid coming off his suit, rather than, because the Flash's speed is to do with the lightning. Lightning comes off him.
Yeah.
But we've seen Quicksilver in X-Men films do the exact same thing, where everything's just stopped, and he's just like, just going to push this, just going to push that. Super speed is difficult to translate the film.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the TV show does it as a yellow lightning, doesn't it?
Yeah. So but again, the TV show does it, where it has that very obvious green screen thing, where his upper body's doing all the work, and you can't see his feet because his feet are just going...
Yeah,
like I'm waving my fingers really quickly like a blur. It just doesn't translate very well.
I think it's really important to make him visually distinct, though, and that's why I would have gone with the yellow lightning, because to me that is Flash. Like if you're doing the blue, it's like you've already seen that with Quicksilver, etc. Yeah. Jake, what was your
final note on this? I'd like to address the elephant in the room about this film. I think we're all thinking about it. Is release the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, especially as somebody who enjoyed the director's cut of.
What are all your thoughts about that scenario?
I think it gets clouded by the actual demand thing for me. Like, as much as like I would be interested in seeing it, it does, like, those things where you're like, I would love to see that, but then so many people keep harping on about it. It does bring me down a bit. I'm like, because it takes away from the actual Snyder Cut. It just becomes about people demanding it, and then that just annoys me, because I'm like, stop demanding things, like, because it comes again with my issue of when fans are like, this is why Hollywood should listen to us because we know best, kind of thing, and that bugs me. And I think in the example of like the X-Men films, like Dark Phoenix, I think they would have been best to just leave that die, kind of thing, whereas like people might have been for years and years going, release Dark Phoenix, but I think that's an example of where it would have been better to let it go, and we'll see with New Mutants whether that's the case as well. Like, I kind of feel that those two films could have easily been shoved aside. So, but at the same time, I think again you do want to see how he wanted this vision to come across, because they did treat him so badly, and just bring in Joss Whedon and completely change your film. I do want to see it. I think it's just that people demand it so much, I kind of get tired of it, kind of thing. But yeah, what's your guys' thoughts on it?
I don't want to see it. I think it's that point where with so many, everything DC, when something happens on TV shows, animated things, release the Snyder Cut is the automatic reply.
Yeah.
It's to the point where if it comes out and people don't like it, it's their fault at this point. They're overhyping it themselves. When they do Justice, if they ever do Justice League again, start fresh.
Yeah.
Take Wonder Woman, take Shazam, take Aquaman. They work.
Yeah.
Take them, but change everything else because it didn't work the first time around. I think the fact the fans want to see this Snyder Cut is fantastic. Yes, but I think they're hyping it out as this holy grail. Which they got to remember, a lot of these same fans didn't enjoy Batman vs Superman, didn't enjoy Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Do they really want to see another version of that? Because they won't be impressed with it because they didn't like the first two.
And I always think of the road cut of that X-Men Days of Future Past, where you just watch it and go, that was cool, but it didn't add anything to the film, so did I really need it, kind of thing. It's that as well.
Yeah, I'm very similar thinking of that. Like, I would like to see it.
Yeah.
Especially being a Zack Snyder fan, I would like to see what his completed... Well, I say completed because he originally wanted to do 5 movies. They cut him down to 3, and then they messed up the third one. So I still don't think his vision would have been completed the way he wanted it to.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if they do... Let's say they release it. Is it going to change anything?
Yeah.
Not really. DC is still just going to keep on moving forward with what they're doing. If they do release it, I think it would be a similar situation to like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. In like 10, 15 years' time, they might go, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think they are going to do that because it's an unfinished cut.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's going to take millions of dollars for the visual effects alone for that film to be finished.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Have you got any sort of thoughts on it, Craig? Is it just similar?
I just don't care.
Fair point.
Just to wrap it up then, guys, we'll sort of combine Aquaman and Shazam together. What are you guys' thoughts on these? Do you have a favourite of the two? Do you think that they're completely different? What are your sort of feelings on it?
I prefer Shazam to Aquaman.
I also prefer Shazam.
I do like Aquaman, though.
Yeah,
I do not.
I think Aquaman...
Should we just have, like, Craig and, like, how do you feel about this bit?
Do not.
I don't. I do. How do you feel about this bit? I do. I do not.
With Aquaman, it was... I thought it was a fun...
Where do you come down on Julie Andrews' sea monster?
I do not. So Aquaman. Jason Momoa, I thought he was fantastic in the lead.
Yeah.
He is the best thing about the film for me. He really spearheads that film and takes you on this journey. It's absolutely bonkers, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it is that James Wan has literally gone, what can we do? And let's just make it...
Yeah.
You know, octopuses playing drums. And it's absolutely bonkers.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, but the entire time I'm watching this, I've got this big smile on my face.
Yeah.
Because it's so absolutely bonkers, and I love it for that. I think CGI-wise, water is incredibly difficult to do with CGI.
Yeah.
Still wasn't great, but it's better than what we saw in Justice League.
Yeah.
But overall, the film was a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
I get it. But Shazam... The reason I preferred Shazam over Aquaman is that it had a lot more heart, Shazam, than Aquaman did. You know, the theme of family was really prominent in this movie. Zachary Levi is amazing as the character, and I was laughing the entire way through.
Yeah.
I think definitely DC's funniest film, without a doubt. And I think they got something there with this cast and this premise, and it's almost like a PG-13 Deadpool.
Yeah.
For DC. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of both those movies, but I prefer Shazam.
Yeah. I think they're both visually, like, really interesting, really great. But yeah, this Aquaman has such silly moments, and it's actually the longest, I think, of... I am checked recently, because I think Justice League was like 2 hours, Shazam was about 2 hours, and Aquaman was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and they cram a lot into that movie, and yeah, it's like the moment he comes out of the sea to Pitbull and, Africa, that's the bit that just lost me. I was just like, right. I was like, okay, like, this is a bit silly. I'm not sure if you're rushing the story. Let's see how this goes. As soon as that happened, I was like, right, you're not taking this seriously. But again, I think, when you look at, like, Patty Jenkins and, I could be like, James Wan still had a vision, and I still respect what he was doing, and he's very much like, he made it its own. He made it very cinematic. He didn't just make a bland by the books film, which you can have with other comic book things. So I do respect it, but yeah, I think it was just, again, it had that Batman v Superman thing of like just too much happening, too much thrown in. I know that they felt that they were like, we might never get this chance again because it's such a bizarre character, but at the same time I was just like, did you really need to introduce all 7 kingdoms of the sea or whatever and not have like any of them like explained at all? Like, 'cause I spent the film being like, oh, I'm really interested by this mythology, and then they just rushed through all of it. I was like, oh, I kind of wanted to know about these different kingdoms, and they do a bit, but
you'll find out in the trench.
Yeah.
And Aquaman 2.
Yeah, exactly. Strange.
You have to remember this movie, it made over $1 billion.
Yeah. So, and I have to give it kudos to that. So yeah, strange concept for a film, The Trench, but we'll see. Kellan, what's your thoughts on it?
I prefer Shazam over Aquaman. I think Aquaman is a fun film. It's not a great film.
Yeah.
It is enjoyable. I think, James Wan had a clear vision, and I think that clear vision was, I want a crab battle. I want a massive crab battle.
Yeah.
I want lasers on sharks. I want swordfishes skewering Atlanteans. I want Dolph Lundgren with lots of wavy blonde hair.
Yeah.
And I want Surfer Bro Aquaman to just go,
Yeah.
woo, a lot. But Shazam, I think, is the better film. One of the things I picked up on from Shazam is I don't think I've seen it in any other film, is that the depiction of adoption is realistic. It's not just happy, or it's not just really rubbish. It's mixed.
Yeah.
There's a happy family there, but they are struggling.
Yeah.
And for me, the climax of the film, even though the villain's not great, I think you kind of have to make it not great because The Rock's just like peering over the shoulder. But
Well,
the
you got
finale,
Mr. Mind.
and like Dr. Savannah is a really old villain in the comics. He's possibly in comic books, the original mad scientist, to the point where now you have to sort of do essentially a parody of him because you can't do it. But the finale, thankfully no one spoiled it for me, and apologies if the finale, I'm not going to spoil it. The finale is spectacular, and I think the cast, they've done an amazing job with the cast, both, well, I can't say much about it, but Zachary Levi.
Spoilers from now on, but
the fact that they've picked, obviously the main cast, an older version, a younger version, but then they've managed to find 5 others who are matched personality and who are older versions. And I do feel sorry for Zachary Levi because if you see pictures of him training, he is huge. He's ripped, huge muscles. But then he puts the suit on and everyone goes, look at those massive fake muscles.
Yeah.
And he's massive. He's the same size as Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But no one believes it because the suit looks more
But that's because
bland.
everyone's also judging that on a set photo. Do you know what I mean? Like
when they saw the costume, they were like, that looks goofy, but you need to see it in the context of the film.
Exactly, with the finished effects and everything.
I think if they'd made the costume the same sort of like weave material as Henry Cavill's Superman suit, people were like, because it looks tighter against the skin.
Yeah.
Whereas the Shazam suit just looks like one big pillow.
It looks like foamy.
The Black Manta costume is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it is a stupid looking costume, but the fact they've gone, no, we're going to do that, I'm like, fair play.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I thought the same thing about Mysterio in Far From Home, that the costume is stupid, but they pulled it off.
Yeah, exactly.
One final thing about Aquaman as well, this is a negative, is that they had a really good premise of focusing on what we humans are doing to the environment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially the world we live in now with climate control change and all that. And then they just sort of glossed over crab battles.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They had something there. I thought, okay, this could be really good. This could be deep. And then they bring in the crabs.
Yeah.
I thought the film was an incredibly good video game tutorial, and then I realised it was a film and went, oh.
So, interestingly, off like all of our discussion, like I said, we usually then have our segment of the show, which is the movie vault, which is deciding through the topic we discuss, whether it be films that we have or haven't mentioned, what films we would like to see encapsulated for all time for our friend, the film god, to enjoy. And I think it's quite an interesting list if we just look at those ones that we've mentioned, because there are so many that you'd be like, no. Just a heads up, Wonder Woman's already in there. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. Do you
that gets rid of the dramatic moment I was going to go. Like, right, everyone say it all together. 3, 2, 1. It's already
Man of Steel for me.
Yeah, Shazam would have been mine.
Man of Steel for me.
Are you sure Batman v Superman ages like a fine wine? You don't want it to like go in there and age like a fine wine.
David, you put that in there. I'm locking you in with it.
It would be Jake. He made the great comparison.
That'd be in the little sort of Teletubby in the corner was just covered in cobwebs.
So Man of Steel for Jake, you think, is it? And what was it? Shazam?
Shazam for me.
Yeah.
I think based on the conversations we've had, they're the only ones that have anything resembling balance of opinions, I think.
Yeah. And
in terms of like positives and negatives, everything else has been like, there are a couple of positive things, then there's just loads of bad.
Yeah. I think that's a good shout because, like I said, we did, if you're talking about themes, then like even if you're just being like, here's a really good film to show adoption and stuff like that, Shazam does that. And
but it's also just one incredibly cinematic film that does a good job at like for some people, I'm going to establishing this universe and being able to like create a lot of tension and awe-inspiring moments. And the other one, which is a bit more down to earth and a bit more light-hearted, trying to create a bit more character within this universe. So I think on those grounds, I think they're both valid to put inside.
And they both work on their own. You don't have to have watched the previous film to understand what's happening, that kind of thing as well, which is...
Well, I mean, Man of Steel, what came before it, right? That you can't...
Exactly, yeah.
Superman Returns. I don't think that's going in the vote.
So,
It'd be Dark Knight Rises, technically, I guess.
That still doesn't deserve to be in the vote.
So, going into the movie vault this week, guys, is Man of Steel and Shazam. Join in Wonder Woman, that's already in there. Into the movie vault you go. So, guys, if you have any favourites that you have at home, please do tell us in comments or on our social media. And, we look forward to seeing what else goes into the movie vault in the upcoming year. We now move on to our endgame, which is DC-themed. I'll let Craig tell you all about it.
So, the last time we had, like, a primarily Marvel-themed episode. This is when we were talking about Avengers Endgame, and we had a game which was Marvel character or not Marvel character. We thought about doing something similar, but we thought we'd be a bit more poetic about it this time. So this game is called DC or not DC. That is the question. Please enjoy our
love the visuals.
Yeah. So for viewers at home, I've put on a picture of Shakespeare wearing a Batman costume that I've hastily edited onto him. So the idea of this game,
I kind of love as well how he does his bland look in it. He's just looking at it as if he is I don't approve.
I like his ear sticking out in the cowl.
You've gone for the Val Kilmer one as well.
Yeah. You just need some bat nipples.
Yeah.
I did what I could with the image, but so the idea of this is that we're going to show you a list of character names, and we want you to work out whether or not they are an actual character from the DC universe in some way, shape, or form, or not. So for this, we've given you post-it notes. We would like you to create your own DC or not DC sign, because the idea is that we're going to give you a count of 5, and then you reveal if you believe they are from DC or not.
If these characters, is it part of DC now, but if they have their origins elsewhere, or is it just they're part of DC now? They are
in some way have been involved in DC at some point in time.
Okay.
That is my way of saying I can't fully answer that question.
Yeah, it's if that character name is the name of the hero.
I was going to say, because there's an amalgamation between Marvel and DC, so technically anybody is part of DC.
Like Captain Marvel.
Yes.
True.
Copyright reason, you can't say that.
Yeah, there's none like that anyway. But there will be a few red herrings thrown in this, so just to let you know.
If Condiment King shows up in this, I'm going to be annoyed.
Why did you say that?
Because it's just useless.
Okay.
Mustard
Did you
and
not
ketchup
see him
guns.
in the Lego Batman movie?
I did, yeah.
He was great.
But then I watched the Batman animated series and was reminded.
So, first up, Booster Gold. Oh, not even any hesitation. David.
I've already mentioned him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Booster Gold is a...
The picture kind of matches the sound. It's as if he's
yes.
Yeah, that's why I chose it specifically. He's just going to be good work, guys.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Booster?
You can imagine a little shine from his teeth.
Excellent. So, next up, Bouncing Boy. So, okay. So I will have to take first answer. So we've got one DC, one not DC. So, Jake, you are... Because Kellan is...
Legion of Superheroes, baby.
Yep, he is indeed from the Legion of Superheroes.
That's an interesting picture. Where'd you get that from?
So there's an article which is 10 obscure characters from the DC universe. So you'll see the inspiration we got for this article. That is the picture that they used for him. So
Never seen that before. He's a bit older than his usual depictions.
Interesting.
Cool. I'm glad I don't have to explain who these guys are. Perfect.
Next.
Screenslaver.
Both gone non-DC.
And you are?
That's because it's Disney.
Yes.
We
So
tried to brainwash you, it didn't work.
yeah. So who can tell me who this person is from?
The villain from
Incredibles
2.
Incredibles 2. Yeah.
Or is it? He's just a scapegoat, isn't he?
He's also a she, David.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, no, it technically is a
Spoilers.
man in the suit. But
Oh yeah. But the fair enough.
yeah. We won't spoil the film.
All right, excellent. So after a couple of rounds, I believe the score is 3 to Kellan, 2 to Jake. Excellent. So next up, Joker. So you
Hang on,
both
is
got-
this is not some weird version of Joker we've not heard of, is it?
David? Unfortunately, we've chosen Joker from Persona 5.
Exactly.
The game character.
Yeah.
That's a bit. Come on now.
I'm going to get a ruling on that.
All I can say is you guys clearly did not listen to our episode where we first did this, where we screwed people over with the collector many, many times.
Well, I did click, but I was already put my hands to it.
Next.
Okay. Matter Eater Lad. Kellan's gone DC. Jake, not DC.
Not DC.
Jake is. Which means Kellan is.
Legion of Superheroes again.
I'm just
If you
for,
think- if
for
you-
every character I don't know, I'm just saying not DC.
There. So if you think the picture that we had for Bouncing Boy
God,
was
yeah.
weird, wait for this.
I've seen that.
I can't tell if he's trying to eat it or if he's trying to like purge.
He is matter eater, lad. So, like, what is his superpowers? Do you know, Kellan?
Basically, you can eat anything.
Right.
That's it.
It's just like it doesn't turn into anything
No.
he then uses. No, it's just like
No.
that door's in our way. I'll just eat it.
He's a gimmick hero from like one episode of an animated series where they need something to be eaten to escape.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay, next up. Klitziplim. I can't say that properly.
Hang on.
I'm looking at the same thing you are as well.
You think okay, so you've gone DC. David, they are?
You've reversed his name.
I thought Mr. Mitzelpick.
Yeah, Mr.
So
Mixapidlick.
I was going to say, if you can tell me what this is actually in reference to, I will give you a bonus point. I think you have both said that it is.
Mr. Mixapidlick.
Mr. Mitzelpick.
Yeah. So what exactly is the word that I showed you then?
His name in reverse.
Reverse.
Which does?
Sends him back to the fifth dimension where he's from.
Hi,
Which
guys.
is?
There he is. He's a fifth dimensional imp.
Your 3 months are up, and this time you're not gonna cheat me out
I
of my
forgot he's
fun.
voiced by Gilbert Godfrey.
No, he's not. He's voiced by Maxoff.
Kill Tipsyism, mix your spit leg. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do. Oh, nuts!
Yeah. So on the name, you are.
Yeah, so you have both gained a bonus point by telling me exactly where I got that word from. So I will happily give you that in lieu of the points that I stole off
Yeah.
you.
It's the fact that like his name is not the reverse.
Yeah.
That's just how you make him appear. Was the thought.
No,
But
it's how you send him back to the fifth
Yeah,
dimension.
right.
So, but the ruse worked. That's all I'm after. Cool. Frankenstein, DC or not DC? You've both gone not DC, and you are.
Because there is a DC character, yeah.
He's in Marvel as well. That's what threw me.
And I'm also
Ah.
thinking about the original monster.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
So that's a bit of a wild card there.
Yeah, so there is a character. I believe he's an agent of Shade, or Snade, or I
Shade, I think.
Shade. Yeah. So
Agent of Shield said weirdly like Agent of Shade.
He is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Marvel.
See,
Okay.
after that Joker one, I was like, wait.
yeah.
Well,
You
that's
could
good.
easily have done that. Yeah.
That's good. You're cautious because the next one is the Joker. DC or not DC? That is the question.
I'm going to say...
Sod it.
No, you have to pick one.
Oh, did he have to? Is it?
Yeah. So 5, 4. You've both gone DC, and you are.
Which version is it now?
What is it now?
It's a playing card.
But it says Joker, not the Joker.
It's the Joker playing card.
Also, strictly speaking, that's a jester.
That is very true.
Yeah,
What do the words say?
A Harlequin,
A
if you will.
jester is also in DC because he's the alternate version of the Joker. Points, please.
that card is Joker, but yeah, when you look it up, the card is called the Joker, apparently, from Origins.
Yeah, so unfortunately, no points there. Mr. Mole. Okay, so we have one non-DC, one DC. So, Kellan, you are... Which means that Jake is... Okay, so there's going to be a bonus point if you can suggest where we've got the character of Mr. Mole from.
I think you got him from The Incredibles, the Underminer.
Ratty and Toad.
Both decent guesses.
Yeah. So this is the origin of Mr. Mole.
Tonight, the Springfield. I mean, Gotham Underworld is trembling while solid citizens sleep snug as a bug. Why? Because Bartman is knocking down bad guys like Howard Hughes knocks up young starlets. Bad guys like the Toker. The Diddler. Mr. Mole. Sugar and Spice. And Poison Lenny.
So yeah, it's from The Simpsons. It's from a Simpsons segment called Bartman Begins. Yeah, so no bonus points there, but 1 point to Jake for getting it correct. So next character, Mr. Mime. DC or not DC? You've both gone DC, and you are both.
Oh, the character's Mime, not Mr. Mime.
It's a Pokemon.
I know there's a DC character called Mime.
Yeah.
Watchman.
Next one, Mr. Mind. Yeah, I think given the fact you've already mentioned him, I think it's safe to assume. Yep, there it is.
And it's the one from the end scene.
One
as
of
well.
the craziest characters in DC, and I can't believe they're actually doing.
You get a bonus point if you can name him and his full team.
Oh, the is it the Monster Society of Evil?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I made that dangerous now. I made it 6-all. Oops.
Next character, Mr. Rhyme. DC or not DC?
This is because Mr. Rhyme rhymes with Mr. Mime.
So Kellan's gone DC. Jake is. So Kellan is. Jake is. So Jake was onto something saying it rhymes with Mr. Mime because it is the evolution of Mr. Mime in the new series games.
I have no
I've
idea.
got that on
I
my
haven't,
team.
I haven't played those games in a long time.
I just laughed at the
That was just a guess.
I laughed at the concept of just a Mr. Rhyme villain, just like, I am Mr. Rhyme. I make like I can rhyme in that sentence.
It's a little bit like the Music Meister.
Yeah.
So okay.
The Scoutmaster.
So next up in our lineup of misters, we have Mrs. Grodenko. DC or not DC?
You have to put a Mrs. after all these misters.
Yeah. You've both gone DC, and you are both. It is correct. Now, before David presses the button, describe to me necessarily what type of character you think is going to appear. Like, what do you think this character is going to look like?
A dude. I think it's going to look like a dude. A big Russian dude.
I don't think it's anything special. Right.
So, technically, ironically, Kellan's closer because you said a Russian dude is actually a bear.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
It's a Russian old woman who turns into a bear. Guess which team this is from?
She's only appeared in one issue.
It's Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Suicide Squad,
yeah.
They're
was
scraping
a
the bottom of
lucky
the barrel
guess.
with that one, weren't they?
Yeah. Speaking of...
We need a new
I
character.
told you, they need an animal-based person on the team at all times.
Speaking of scraping the bottom of the barrel...
Condiment King. Yeah, we couldn't have planned it. And also the one from the animated series.
The Condiment King.
So that's a point for each of you. Next up, we have Joker.
Make me doubting the very fabric of reality over here now. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, go on.
The bluff has been
It
fed.
had to be. After 2, it had to be.
Oh, do not underestimate my ability to find more Jokers.
He is himself a Joker.
So, excellent. Next up, Cabot Zeller. You've both got non-DC, and you are both. So it's not a DC character, but a bonus point for who do you think Cabot Zella is?
For some reason, I've gone to Conan the Barbarian.
I was thinking of like Xena the Warrior.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, so you've both gone for very mystical characters.
Something fantasy, yeah.
I feel really bad because all it is Alex Trebek, the host of Jeopardy, backwards, based on a Family Guy joke where they take the basis of Mr. Mixes-Plits.
I was going to say, does it send him back to his own realm?
So weird.
Fun fact, an actual person went on the real Jeopardy and put Cabot Zella as one of his answers.
That's amazing.
He only had like $1 in the bank and he lost that $1 anyway. So.
He's like, I may as well. I'm already.
Yeah. Next up, major bummer. DC or not DC? You've both gone for DC, and you are both correct.
Where is that from?
That was a guess. But I thought this is gonna be so obscure that it has to be a DC character.
Is that a leopard skin underwear I can see over his shoulder?
That was like a
up there.
Oh yes, yeah. That's a bit of crotch right there.
Yeah. So fun thing about Major Bummer is that he was a superhero accidentally given his powers. He has no will to fight, and he's actually depressed because all of these supervillains keep showing up to fight him, and he just wants nothing to do with it. He is incredibly lazy, and I just love it.
Where'd you find him?
Again, list of
Scrape the barrels there.
10 obscure DC characters.
I can't wait to see
they
his
both
film.
had Cabot Zella.
Yes,
Not
yeah.
DC, yeah.
Yeah, so
He'll get his own spin-off show.
that has come to the end of our game, and the final scores, David.
It is 13 to Jake and 12 to Kellan. Oh,
Well
so
played.
close. I think it was only like 1 point in it when Kellan did with Erin as well, wasn't it? It was very close.
Oh no, I think I lost that by about 3.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So, in the end,
commendable.
that means that we have a winner. I'd like to present you with your trophy.
I thought you were going to bring out like a Major Bummer Funko Pop or something.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my family and everyone
The
involved.
Academy.
Release the Snyder Cuts.
Yeah, it's just engraved at the bottom with release the Snyder Cut.
Oh, yeah, that is the prize, just the Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cuts.
Make it so, Warner Brothers. So thank you guys for joining us. We've had a very in-depth discussion there about all things DC, including the DC films that we've had for the past 10 years or so. Thank you for both joining us. It's been really fun. Jake, where can we find yourself?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, where you can see me talking about movies and showing off my Funko Pop collection. That's at Sweaty Jake. And also, if you like these guys' podcasts, please check out my podcast, Film 7 Podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major streaming places.
Cool. And what was the last, where you were talking about Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah,
etc.?
recently we did a spoiler review of the Rise of Skywalker, and we also did a 2-parter of what's coming for 2020. So.
Awesome. Yeah, check it out, guys. Kellan, anyway, or was it just...
You can find me at home.
You find you in life. You're just the person, when you're watching a film, thinking, do I like this? Then you just get the idea, no. Or... give it another watch.
I'll wait till the drive home before my opinion on this.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys for joining us. You can catch us on all our social medias. We now have a Well Good Movies Facebook page dedicated to this podcast and on Instagram. And then if you want to catch our parent site, which is Fresh Take Hub, which you can find this podcast on, which is freshtakehub.com/wellgoodmovies. And we're on all socials as Fresh Take Hub as well for that as well. So thank you for joining us, guys. Like I said, check out the website where I'm sure we'll have reviews of Birds of Prey and more DC films as they come out, including Wonder Woman 1984. Anything from yourself, Craig?
Nope. Just hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Massive crab battle.
Yeah.
Dostoevsky.